Welcome everyone. I'm feeling spooky today, so welcome back to Horror Mondays. And I'm gonna talk about some creepy stuff from Reddit. If you have any stories that you want to share, do let me know. Email me or DM me or however it is. I also got tea, which is great. It's cozy right now. So I hope you feel cozy as well while I read this. So the first story comes from Paranormal Encounters on Reddit, and the user is called Uniqua0511, and this has been posted 128 days ago. And the title is called Man Voice Saying Help that got gradually louder but no one else was home and nobody was outside my house? Question mark. So let's start with I'm a person that tries to understand things based on reason, but I'm very open to all sorts of possibilities. Last week, my daughter, 9, was getting snack in the kitchen at around 10 p.m., and she said she saw a little boy's face peering around the corner of the hallway. I brushed it off and she wanted me to walk to her room to tuck her in. When I came back, my 5-year-old son said, "Mommy, look." And I guess when I went to tuck her in, my son got out of his tablet and took a picture. No idea why. And in the background was a really creepy face. I chalked it up to bad light and whatnot. But even my husband and parents saw the picture and it freaked them out. Well, fast forward to last night, I took a picture with my 2-year-old just being silly at around 10 p.m. and another weird looking face in the background. Could be funky lighting, whatever. Well, this morning my husband woke up for work as he always does at 3:30 a.m. and leaves at 4. I couldn't fall back asleep and went to use the restroom. As I'm sitting there, I hear a faint help and I'm like, probably just a fan or something. No TVs are on, all lights are out except for small bedroom nightlight. All kids are sleeping. So I still sit there on the toilet, mind you, and again I hear help in a man's voice. It sounds a little close but still further away. So now I am starting to get weirded out. Then a few seconds later, I hear "help" in a man's voice and it sounded like it was right next to me. I thought maybe someone was outside the bathroom window, so I jumped up and called my husband. Try to figure out the situation if I need to grab a weapon or something just in case. I checked all the outdoor cameras, nothing, nobody. Now we live on a military base housing, so typically it's safe and guarded gate, so I wasn't thinking along the lines of an intruder exactly, but I was very startled. This house was built in the 40s. We have lived here for 5 years and maybe a few weird things here and there have happened, but nothing like this. I wasn't half asleep either. I had been awake for 30 minutes if not more, and I mean it was clear as day, and the last help was clear and very close. Any advice or maybe insight on what this could be? Or what can I do? That is absolutely creepy. There's no picture here, but some of the commenters are like, "Do you have the picture?" I would like to see how this looks like. Actually, I don't. I don't like creepy faces, but this is very intriguing. I've heard a lot of stories about military base camps who have some things that have happened there, and that's just very creepy. Imagine you're kind of just chilling and you hear some voices, you see some things walking around. Yeah. So this one comes from the subreddit Ghost Stories, and this is from a user called Vengeful Peace. And this was posted 55 days ago. Since I was 12, my parents have been divorced and have shared custody of my younger brother and I. We live with our mom through the week and our dads on the weekends. My mom ended up moving around quite a bit, and at one point, we ended up living in a small cul-de-sac surrounded by woods. I think I was 15 at that time. It was a nice place. The neighbors were okay, and I had no general complaints about it. But there was definitely a feeling I had there sometimes, like there was something else in the house. It wasn't persistent, but when it was there, it was very, very noticeable. It was like the feeling you get when someone is staring at you, and you can feel their eyes on you even if you can't see them. Anyway, One day, my mom was at work, so my brother and I were home alone. It was a warm, sunny day out, and my best friend, we'll call him by his initials, CED, had come over with his football to hang out. The three of us stood in the yard at the side of the house, tossing the ball around while having conversations for a while, when suddenly, a pass from CD to my brother hits him in the chest and falls to the ground, as he doesn't even attempt to catch it. I look over confused as I head over to scoop the ball off the ground and toss it back to CD, and my brother is just standing there. "What are you doing?" I asked. Then I noticed he was staring up at the house, so I asked what he was staring at. He didn't say a word, he just pointed up at the house. So I followed his gaze, and at first I looked up at the roof but didn't see anything. Then I lowered my eyes, and I froze. My brother and I stood motionless now, so naturally, CD was confused and asked what the hell we were staring at. We both stayed silent as I pointed up, just as my brother had. CD made his way over, probably thinking we were stupid at that point, but once he stood next to us, it didn't take long for him to see what has captured our attention. "I don't see anything," CD said, stopped mid-sentence when he noticed. In the upstairs hallway window, clear as day, there was the solid white face of a smaller person, possibly a child, staring right back at us. We stared for what felt like a full 2 minutes before the figure backed away from the window, disappearing into the house. "You saw that, right?" I asked CD. "Yeah," he replied. We all exchanged glances in disbelief as we processed what we had just seen. I then made the precarious decision to investigate it. After all, it was my house. I had to go back in at some point. My brother and CD waited by the front door while I headed in. It took me several minutes to gather the courage, but finally I went up the stairs, checked the hall, the bathroom, my room, and every other room. No sign of anyone or anything in sight. Whatever we saw was gone without a trace. We all had our opinions on the paranormal prior to that day. I was a believer, CD was open to it, and my brother was more skeptical. But what we saw that day made believers of us all. That is so freaking scary. I am not gonna lie, I don't want to be seeing things up the window. See, that's the thing, every time I go home, I'm always looking up the windows and like, is there something there? Anyway, one of the commenters said, "Anything happened after that? History of the house?" And the OP said, "Yeah, there's another occurrence that happened once while I was in the shower. It was the middle of the day and my family was downstairs and the living room. I was shampooing my hair when I heard my name called. I yelled back asking what, but there was no reply, so I yelled again. Still nothing. I figured they couldn't hear me, so I finished up quickly and headed downstairs. As soon as my family was in the view, I asked them what they wanted and explained I was in the shower, but my mom and brother just looked at me confused. I asked which one of them had called my name while I was up there, but they swore they were watching TV the whole time. This made no sense because I distinctly heard my name called out. It was loud and sounded like someone shouting at me from another room, even though I could believe my brother was messing with me. My mom isn't the type to lie or joke in those situations, and they both were in the living room the whole time. I still questioned them a few times because I was so sure what I heard, but they swore no one called me. As for the rest of the history of the house, I'm not sure if there was anything specific that happened there, but I did later find out that the whole cul-de-sac was built over old Indian burial grounds. The remains had been dug up and relocated before the construction. Ooh, see, that's a thing when something is buried on top of gravesite, especially when bad things has happened there. Just best believe that something's gonna happen to you. A haunting even, or something scary, far more nefarious. I don't really like the idea of it, but if I were to find a house, if I were to buy a house, probably I will dig up the history of it, because ain't no way I'm gonna be living in a haunted house. I mean, my grandma's house back home is already haunted enough, and sometimes it's scary to be alone at certain places there, so yeah, no, I'm not gonna do that to my future house. I mean, who knows where I'm gonna relocate, but yeah, you're not gonna catch me with a haunted house. I know some people, some creators I've seen on Instagram, they actually have houses that they bought, and you know, good for them, but no, not for me. I would be too scared, maybe even to just think about it. Yeah, no, I'm good. The next one is another one from Paranormal Encounters, and the user is called Schmauzy, posted 96 days ago. Something said hi to me. Hi everyone, this is my first post here, but I really love reading everyone's stories. I have a few experiences that I have been meaning to write about, but haven't gotten around to it. But today's happening is still on my mind, so I wanted to come here. It is fairly basic as I have heard many accounts of this type of thing, but before today it hasn't happened to me. My daughter, 16, and I were arriving home today from her scout activity to pick up my son, 19, and go back out to lunch. She waited in the car in the driveway while I went in the house to pee and fetch my son. I got into the garage door that opens to the entryway and that connects to the living room and dining room, and I said, "Hi, Matt," as I usually do. "Hi, Mom," clear as bell, came right back to me from what sounded like the living room straight ahead. It didn't really sound like his usual voice. It was a bit higher, actually sounding exactly like a hybrid of his and his sister's voice. I went to the living room to see him, but he was not on the couch as I expected him to be. I went down the hall to the master's bedroom and saw that the bathroom door was shut. I said, "Matt, did you just say hi to me?" Knowing I wouldn't have even been able to hear it if he had. And he replied, "No, I didn't even know you were home yet." With that, chills ran up down my whole body. I have been thinking about this all day. The "hi, Mom" was not the door creaking, a TV left on, one of our kids mewing, and I absolutely 100% heard it with my own earballs. I am not afraid. Hey, it said hi to me, but it certainly got my attention. Thank you for reading. That's a new word for me, earballs. I might be using that in the future. That's kind of creepy. Sometimes you're just doing something. I don't know if you've ever heard those random noises, especially if it's a voice. I was always told to never ever say anything back to any entities out there because you don't know what they are. And my culture is very, very rich, so we were taught this when we were young, and I still do not respond to anything that I hear. One of the commenters said, "Same here. I worked in a business that was located in a former funeral home. I came into work one morning and this very melodic says, 'Hello.' I was the only person working that day. I am very sensitive to spirits, and every day before I unlocked the door to enter, I would ask the spirits not to scare me or make themselves visible. I guess I should have asked them not to talk to me." She also spoke to me a complete sentence several months later saying, "Everything will be all right." I just replied, "Thank you." Aw, that's kind of sweet, but disembodied voices do be creepy. Okay, so this one is important from another commenter. Their name is impossible_cookie613. They said here, "Do not answer back if it calls you. I used to have a mimic my house, and it pestered my family for years. It would move things to get my attention and scare me. It would call out to me. It would walk throughout the house all hours of night. I could hear footsteps. It would breathe on our necks and sit on our beds while we were trying to go to sleep. And it would set off motion sensor toys all the time when no one was in the room. My mom, my sister, and I all saw it appear as different things. My mom saw an old man, I saw a formless entity, and my sister saw a little girl. It messed with me a lot, most likely because it knew I was frightened. I was the youngest. One of the freakiest occurrences was where it set off my Newton's cradle. I wasn't crazy because my friend saw it too. I saw the balls get lifted but nothing was there. It did that with a horse figure of mine too. I keep hearing this noise, and when I finally found the source, I saw my horse figure floating and get set back down real quick. I hated it. Best thing to do is ignore it. See, this is what I was talking about. Never answer anything from entities unless you are sure what it is, or you are some sort of medium who can deal with these things. This is what my grandmother has always been telling me. Do not answer, because back home in my country, we have so many stories of my grandmother's home. I can't even begin to tell you the experiences I had since I started going there, but a lot of notable things that my cousin would also tell me are things that my grandmother has experienced and just told them to ignore it. Because you ignore it, you're basically not giving them energy to work on what you're giving them, basically. So yeah, even now here in Canada where I live, I still do not acknowledge a lot of things that I see or hear. Normally, I kind of just put it on my head, like chuck it to the back burner and talk to somebody who sort of have some similar experiences with me. People who are sensitive to these things, I go to them to talk about these. So this one is kind of short, and it's also from Paranormal Encounters. It's from a user called BoneGuy1998. That's kind of funny, a username. Anyways, this was posted 353 days ago, and the title is called First Shadow Figure. My first official experience with shadow figure was at 17. Just moved into a house in September 1986, where the owner died in the past winter. It was overnight. I woke up to the feeling I was being watched. My room was off the second floor landing, which was at my back with the wall across from my door. I slowly rolled over to where I could sit up. Now there were no other places light could have come in. The other bedroom door were closed. I sat up and saw a shadow figure darker than the ambient dark of the house with silver pinprick eyes. I asked what it wanted, but no answer. We had a staring contest, but what felt like forever, then it just faded. That was the first and last time I experienced it for a long time. I don't know how I feel if I were to see something like that with just two eyes staring at me. I would freak out for sure. One of the commenters said, my first and only shadow figure experience happened shortly after I moved into my house. It was built by the guy I bought it from along with his father. As it happened, the father passed about when I moved in and started working on stuff. I was working in the semi-darkness of the garage with limited lighting and could see a shadow reflected on the back surfaces of my eyeglasses. I did not dwell on it until the other side of my brain reminded me of the mechanics of shadows. This one was following me around, just over my left shoulder and just beyond my peripheral vision, and doing so independent of the light source. Eventually, I recognized the profile and addressed him politely and formally and explained who I was and what I was doing and how it came to pass that I was in his son's home. At that point, he left. That was the only first incidence of paranormal activity in or around my home. It was also my first paranormal experience of any kind. I've had many since. Yeah, see, that's a thing. You don't really know what you're looking at until you recognize some things that is familiar. However, you gotta really take caution in that. So that is it for now for this Horror Mondays. If you do have any stories that you would like to share, please email me or post it on the comments. I am also on Instagram, so do what you may on that one. It's really fun to do all of this, and I would love to really keep doing more. So I'll see you next time. Bye.